and Donny, being a rich kid of course, he had an electric garage door open, about the only one that I knew of in those days. And I was in his garage one day and I heard his motor scooter coming down full bore down the driveway, down the long alley that came down to the garage, and I heard the siren behind him. So at about the right time I hit the switch on the garage door. Donny hit the brakes and slid her sideways into the garage door came down and the police car drove by. And that was kind of an enduring relationship with authority ever since. We had a friend, Stacy Daniels. Stacy was a fellow that hung around when we were working on the motor scooters a lot. But his main pastime was he'd get a can of gasoline, or he'd open one of the tanks on one of the scooters, and he'd sniff that gasoline. He'd sniff and smell and sniff for hours at a time. We always thought Tracy was just a pretty dumb kind of retarded kid, but turned out he was a trendsetter. Well, Donny always wanted something that went faster, and he wasn't allowed to have a motorcycle, but he bootlegged one. He found a way to get an old motorcycle, ran on about one cylinder out of the two that it had, and I can remember pushing that, and there was more pushing of that stupid motorcycle than there was ever driving it, but it was a constant push for more and more speed that seemed to be built into him. We had other early driver training and mechanical education experiences. Donny's mother had a 41 Packard limousine, 7-passenger limousine, long car. And in those days, the roads, the city streets in Minneapolis, all of you of the appropriate age will remember, were quite a bit narrower than they were today. And the car, if it was sideways, would have been about the same length as the street was wide. Now the other part of that story is that we and our parents all belonged to the Hennepin Avenue Methodist Church right over here. The only thing was that the parents would go to the main service and Donny and I would go to Sunday school, and we were still in pre-teens or maybe 13 at this time, something like that. Donny would be allowed to drive his parents down to church under their supervision. But of course he retained the keys in his pocket. So we would sneak out of Sunday school. Our parents got wise. They used to post guards at the door, but we found out in this huge pipe organ that if you got inside the pipe organ, you could find a way out of the church. And we get out, and he developed his driving skills to the dirt track by doing power turns on the icy city streets in a 41 Packard 7-passenger limo. I don't think he ever hit anybody. It was good. Our mechanical education included fascination with earth moving